and Dr. Swamy will enlighten us on what is the latest position. I thank my co-host, Dr. Arvind Chaturvedi and Mr. Ramesh Swamy for their support to host this program. And I also thank our technical team led by Ashish Shetty, Tejas, Swaminathan, then our friend from Navi Mumbai, Vishwar Iyer, from Chennai, Swaminathan, and Vishal Mehta from Mumbai, and Rakesh from Bangalore for their support for putting this program together. So, with this opening remarks, it will be over to Dr. Swamy to discuss the US presidential elections and the SSR murder case status. Over to Dr. Subramanian Swamy.
Thank you, Jagdish. First, about the US election. I'll spend about 10-15 minutes, and then for the rest of the time, maybe half an hour, I'll deal with the recent developments in the Sushant Singh Rajput's murder. I still maintain it was a murder, and I will explain some of the contrary things that have appeared and why it should be rejected, and we should go on the original premise that it was a murder. Now, you see, as far as the United States elections is concerned, it has a vital bearing for us. Although we, as Indian citizens, we are not going to interfere in their internal elections and say what should the Americans do and not do. But I do think that amongst ourselves, we must be very clear in our mind the consequences of the outcome for the next 4 years in Indo-US relations, which is crucial now, because if we are going to tackle China, I personally don't believe, and I'm now happy to see a former foreign secretary and a former who was also an ambassador to China for India, Mr. Gokhale, Vijay Gokhale. He has written an article saying what I've been telling all of you, and I've been saying. He says that let us understand that Russia is a junior partner of China, because Russia has taken so much money from China that they will have to be with China and do whatever China wants done. And that's why I've been saying don't go to Moscow to discuss with China, because that will create the impression that the Russians are mediating. And so this has annoyed the United States, that we rejected Trump's offer for mediation. And then Trump changed his tune and said, yes, we are supporting India. His Pompeo, that his foreign minister, who they call a secretary of state, has been supportive. And so today the challenger, namely Biden and Ms. Harris, these two, Kamala Harris and Biden, Joe Biden, they are been committing in private meetings, which have been reported here and there, to Muslim groups, to human rights groups, and so on, that they will be tough with India. And those who say it doesn't matter who comes to power, there's a question of nuances. So, question today is, what is the latest development? Mr. Trump suddenly went into hospital because he became positive on this COVID virus, and there was widespread criticism that that's because he doesn't wear a mask and so on. But he's come out in a record time. And so what would be the reason why Mr. Trump was able to come? And he's very active now, he's moving around. And there is no indication that he is infectious. And I'm afraid this is going to have a very positive effect, because I think, frankly, the Americans must have discovered not a virus, a antidote or a vaccine, but they certainly seem to have discovered some medicines which will not cure you of COVID-19 in 2-3 days time, and they obviously don't have it in big stock, so they're not announcing it. This is my view, is my suspicion. Otherwise, I can't believe what happened. Trump going in and then coming out. And now, yesterday's speech, he was full of vigor. So I think this is going to have a great deal of impact. But the second factor, which I think is now growing in Trump's favor, is that there's a fear that the Democrats will not be able to control law and order. And they're not strong enough, or they're complicit and they're involved. So therefore, since these people who are breaking the law and rioting and so on are people who are voting for Democrats, they are part of Bernie Sanders group and so on. So that reaction I am noticing. Third thing is, which I am plagiarizing Ramesh's thing. Ramesh says that there are those people who would normally vote against Trump, but generally they don't come to vote in big numbers. And one is the blacks, Afro-Americans as they are called, and the second is women. So if that changes and they come out to vote, I think one has to know that even for Hillary, who's a woman, the women didn't come out in big numbers to vote. So if that pattern continues, the present 45, 55 poll percentage, that's about 10 percentage points difference between the two contenders, is not big enough to say that Trump is losing. And I think as we reach October 25th, you will probably see that, in my opinion, that given my projections about the events that are likely to happen, probabilistically speaking, I think Trump is going to win. And that's what I thought in the beginning, and I'm still sticking to that on this basis. We have with us an American or a person who lives in America who is on this program, namely Ramesh. So I would suggest that he should give us an input, and then Jagdish and Arvind can, then I'll probably sum it up, and then we'll go on to the next subject. So Ramesh.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Swamy. Oh, you stole my thunder.
Well, I quoted you. Your intellectual property rights are secure because I quoted you.
So yeah, essentially that's what the bottom line today. Even if you again, there are, as you've always said, every day defines politics and elections. So one new wrinkle in this whole thing is Trump's positive COVID, Trump being COVID positive. Whether it was disclosed, not disclosed, and all those things. Even though within 3 days he's coming out and saying I'm completely cured, which is, so far not scientifically right, but he's out there and campaigning. So that is still a challenge, because all along his supporters have been saying it's got nothing to do, it won't happen, nothing will happen. But when the most protected man in the planet gets it, so it is a challenge. So that is one huge challenge he has to overcome. Second, as I said, the debates is basically based on the current polling. Debates is only trying to change 7% of the people. 93% of the people, according to most of the polls, have already decided who they're going to vote for. So these debates are irrelevant in my view. So basically, that's why he's ready to sacrifice even not appearing on one. So this new health challenge is a new, as I said, is a new wrinkle. We don't know how that's going to shape up. We would know, as you said, by another week or so. Once the polling happens, we would know what people are reacting. But as on date, I still feel Trump has a good chance to get this thing done, because there are more chances of Biden and Kamala Harris bungling this up than Trump. Because Trump is honest; he just says what he says. As far as Biden is concerned, he has to sit within a box. He has to speak what he's been told to speak. He can't really be free to speak what he wants. That way, Trump has an advantage. So the thing is, people who going to vote for Trump, they're being silent. They just come out and vote for him. Period. There's nothing that's going to. The biggest thing I feel that's in Trump's favor of all those things is the stimulus, where he put my money directly into people's pockets. So a huge economic crisis has been averted a little, because day to day a man did not suffer for what he has to live for. If he had not done it, it would have been we would have been talking in a different tone right now. So at this point in time, polls say Biden is way ahead, about 17 points, which is statistically very difficult to bridge. But it's going to be a very close call. I don't think we're going to say somebody's going to get elected on third. That's what I would conclude. It's inconclusive. That's what it's going to be.
And one comment before we move to the other two. There is a lot of postal ballot voting going on.
Right. I have got one. We have in our house. We got postal ballots. Yeah.
All right, postal ballots. Now, the thing is that the Democrats are hoping that Republicans will break loose and vote. But if they have already voted and they voted for Trump, they can't now change.
Correct. Once you voted, you put your paper ballot. You can't.
I think even postal ballots, they have been saying, no, postal ballots favors the Democrats and all that. I think that the factor where they are banking on a major switch from Trump voters to Democratic voters has been frozen because of the large-scale postal ballot voting this time because of COVID-19. So I think this is another factor we will see.
Absolutely.
In the elections come.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a new wrinkle that, the proportion of postal ballots, I don't think this is the first election that America has seen a huge in modern times where the number of postal ballots are going to be quite large. Normally, postal ballots are insignificant. It's basically the armed forces, people like that. But this election, again, unpredictability is high because of these postal ballots. Because the postal ballots can be received well into what some states have said. You cannot, the mail stamp has to be third. Some of the states are saying, no, you can mail it even later or stuff like that. So whatever is received on third is what you should count. Some states are putting down. Some states, no. It has to be postmarked by third. It can be received and it should be counted. So there's going to be a huge crisis. Confusion going around with that too.
Right.
Before we move, I have a question. Sorry, Dr.
No, do the two of you have to say anything on the American elections?
Yes, I also want to ask Ramesh more because he's based today in America. What is the Indian attitude to, that is the people of Indian origin? What is their leaning in this election? Because our viewers wants to know, those who are based in India at least, they want to know what is the Indian community going to likely to do.
Right.
Surprisingly, at least like Dr. Swamy has always been saying, a large part of Indian community are shifting towards Trump, which is because by default you're of an Asian Indian origin, you're a Democrat. They just stamp you like that, where they just basically that's what it is. You're profiled that way. But that's not the case. There are a lot of shifts happening that people are looking at Trump more like a businessman. Is not because we see the other side. We are not seeing much confidence in what they can do. So I think that a lot of people are shifting towards Trump because a lot of them are educated things. But I think second generation Americans are predominantly Democrats. So that we cannot change. Yeah. People have my generation who are first generation. We are here. We just came in as immigrants, but a lot of them are still they're Trump supporters. But I don't think second and third, especially college kids, college campuses in America are brainwashed Democrats. So so that is another demographic. That is a demographic, Dr. Swamy, just struck me because they are at home. If they go out and vote, that's also a new wrinkle.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Arvind, do you have
I have one very important question from the point of view of Indians again. You see, Ramesh said the whole campaign is for the 7% people who are undecided.
No, only. I'm not saying not whole. I'm just saying only the debates. Not
debates. If you look at the media, American media traditionally has been divided between Democrats and Republicans. Every election, whether it is 2016 or it is 2012 or something. So media is again taking sides. And whatever projections you are seeing in the media today, They are because of the tilted version.
That is why, it showed, Arvind, the last elections clearly showed, like on November 3rd, Hillary was just waiting outside the White House steps to take oath. Literally, that's why, the polls were saying that Hillary had a 20-point lead some places, and this, it's all bogus. Because at the end of the day, like the silent majority who says, I've made up my mind, which is 93%, I'm just going to go out there and vote for the person that I want to,
Yeah.
So that 7% is not because see, the 7% would make an impact if the spread is about 5 or 6%. The spread is 14% today. So either side, even if they try to make up the 7%, are not going to close that gap. I'm just saying, from a statistical standpoint, it is not much, because those are undecided voters. So they are going to do what they want to do. So that is where the challenge is. But the 7%, and obviously every polling, and last 2 days, what I'm surprisingly seeing, even Fox News is saying Biden's going to win, which is surprising.
Yeah.
Okay, we can move on. Jagdish, we can move on.
Dr. Swamy, we go to the question of on the SSR murder case status. Through our Gyan Ganga program, we wish to pay tributes to Bharat Ratna Lok Nayak Jai Prakash Narayan and Ratna Nanaji Deshmukh, whose birthday we are celebrating today. And both have a very significant influence and role during the emergency period, and Dr. Swamy closely worked with them. Lok Nayak Jai Prakash Narayan, as you all know, led the second war of independence for freedom and against the emergency. And Nanaji Deshmukh, till he got arrested, was the Lok Sangharsh Samiti and Dr. Swamy, and he worked very closely. So Virat Hindustan Sangam takes this opportunity to pay our tribute to Lok Nayak Jai Prakash Narayan and also Nanaji Deshmukh. So I would request Dr. Swamy to comment a few words, and then we can go and be discussing on the SSR murder case present status. Thank you.
Well, Jai Prakash Narayan first met me, or I had a meeting with him when he came to Harvard in 1968 to see the campus. And so the Marshal's office, which deals with foreign visitors, called me up and said, there is a guy called Jai Prakash Narayan, and I should, whether I would find time to take him around the campus. So I said, Jai Prakash Narayan, give the phone to him. So Jai Prakash JP came on the line, and I asked him, are you whom we all call as JP? He said, yes. He was so pleased. He said, yes, because he was a forgotten man at that time. Jawaharlal Nehru and then Indira Gandhi made sure that nobody remembers Jai Prakash Narayan. People don't remember that after the 1952, the first elections, the socialist, as a leader of the socialists, Jawaharlal Nehru offered him deputy prime ministership, and he declined it. And then he said, I don't think by elections we can bring about change. So he went to Sarvodaya. And after I met him at Harvard, and then I arranged his public meeting for Indians, he was so pleased. He said, you must come back to India, which I said I was anyway planning to. Then he said, before you do anything, you must spend some time with Sarvodaya, which I did. And in the end, I told him, Sarvodaya is pure charitable work. But this country, nobody can make progress unless there's a political element. Even Gandhi was political. All his other thing about Qatar and dressing simply and in Asian style, all these things are secondary. But the basic point is he connected this to a political movement. You have to do that. And for the first time from 1952, when he left politics, and 1972, we had a meeting in Bangalore, in a hilly area of Bangalore called Tippanakonda. And there he took the decision in front of all his colleagues and saying that I'm convinced by Dr. Swamy's suggestion that this country, you have to have politics, only then you will be credible. And while they all protested, he said no, made up his mind, and then he started the movement. And he kept me throughout posted, either by phone or asking me to come. So he transformed what we thought was impossible to do, namely defeat Mrs. Gandhi, and especially after Bangladesh war. And he led this movement for corruption. And in the end, the Mrs. Gandhi overreacted, and then the emergency came. And then after the emergency, when the elections are on, he campaigned even though his kidneys had been, damaged during the incarceration that he faced in the emergency. And he led to the first time a non-Congress party. There were a lot of congressmen in it, but it was a non-Congress party. And we didn't adopt the Congress ideology. And we came to power with the absolute majority. And JP used to tell me the real people in India are these rural masses, these poor people in the cities, because they still have the ancient culture of India. And he said these anglicized, highly educated Indians, they don't make up their own mind, they take cues from abroad. And that was proved in the election, that the most educated part of India, namely the 4 southern states, voted for Indira Gandhi. And the illiterate masses of UP, Bihar, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Himachal, all these states voted overwhelming, not overwhelming, they defeated even Mrs. Gandhi in her constituency, didn't give a single seat in UP, Bihar, and we got majority and we came to power. So I remember that in this country, that the core mind is that, and therefore he should be remembered for making the nationalism as a fashionable word, which was decried during the socialist period of Indira Gandhi and her father. And his contribution is just immeasurable. I think I would compare him to this contribution of Mahatma Gandhi. And therefore, we should remember him, and remember him more seriously than we have been doing. As far as Nanaji is concerned, I have never seen a large-hearted person like him. I've never seen somebody who had such a memory for organizational details, and the extent to which he used to go to see that you are looked after, even if you didn't ask him for help. When I was fired from the IIT because I had these anti-socialist views, anti-Russian views, and the Hindutva views. Mrs. Gandhi had personally ordered my removal. I couldn't get a job in India, and I didn't want to go back abroad, back to Harvard. So Nanaji ensured that I never reach a stage where I am literally despondent and would go back to America like most people do. And during the emergency, I was his driver. He located me. I'd gone underground after Nanaji, Moraji, Jayaprakash Narayan, and I were the people who were organized that famous June 25th meeting. And you have seen pictures of it. And Nanaji was the one who said Swamy will be the person who will introduce all of us, and he will give I will give the speech. So at that young age of 35, I was asked to lead the most popular movement in the country. That was the large-heartedness of Nanaji Deshmukh. They don't make him like him anymore. All we find is mean, wanting to grab your credit, that kind of thing. But these two people should never be forgotten. They should be part of our school curriculum. They should be taught. Their life history should be taught. And therefore, I would say the country today is surviving as a democracy because of these two gentlemen. So now, shall I go on to the...
Yes, Doctor. Okay. We go into the main topic. Our viewers are very keen to know the latest status and look forward to your enlightening them.
You see, when the steps were taken to clean up the mafia hold in the United States, Al Capone was the most notorious of all the gangsters. He would be 10 times what Dawood Ibrahim is. And he murdered 32 people in broad daylight with his own pistol, or his men coming and doing the killing. And the FBI tried prosecuting him, and every time he was convicted. And then the propaganda of him that the FBI is just vindictive, Al Capone. But the FBI didn't give up. They caught him in income tax evasion, and for year after year, and for each year they put 10 years. And in the end, he was imprisoned for 50 years, and he died in jail. So I'm saying that, in my opinion, I'll give you the reasons. Sushant Singh Rajput was murdered, and there has been a huge effort to make it out to be suicide. And I'm sorry that the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, AIIMS special team is yet. I've never seen nobody has seen the report so far. They say it's given to the FBI, but nobody has seen the report. But orally, the chairman, Dr. Sudhir Gupta, had declared to some people, and that also we have no video of it, declared that this is a suicide, as the Bombay police had said. But let's go into the matter, and I can then tell all the fans of SSR why don't lose hope. One way or the other, we'll get to the killers, and maybe take time, no problem. Like Al Capone's matter, in the end, we'll win, and that resolve should be there. And there's nothing for me in it. I mean, after all, I have nothing to do with the cinema world, but I feel that he represents the first major challenge to the mafia that controls Bollywood, and the Bollywood reacted by getting him killed. So the Bollywood mafia has to pay for it, and we have to clean it up so that in future talented people like him, who could have been in academics but chose to come to cinema, others are also encouraged to come. Women can live with their honor and be actresses in Bollywood. So that's that is, I mean, we can't bring Sushant back, but the memory of Sushant should be there, that if the mafia rears its head, the nation will stand up and crush their sticking their neck out. So therefore, I want you to be convinced that this is murder because of some facts I gave you. Sushant was alive on 13th June. On 14th morning at 9 o'clock, he called his servant and said, "I want a glass of orange juice." Now that doesn't sound like somebody who was about to hang himself, as is alleged, and commit suicide at between 9 o'clock when the orange juice arrived, or say 9:10, 10 minutes after, and 11 o'clock when people tried to enter his apartment, that is his bedroom. So what has changed? I mean, if a man is decided to commit suicide, the idea cannot come because he drank a glass of orange juice. So he must have been debating it over many days, whether to do it, not to do it, and so on. That's what a suicide guy would do. He left no note. I would assume that if he was dying because he was fed up with what was going on, or is depressed with what is going on, then he will leave a note. Just now, a CBI director, former director, has committed suicide. He has left a note why he is committing suicide. Anyone who has attained that height and now wants to commit suicide will put it down. If there's been unfairness to him, that will be put down. And I've never seen this. And so at 11 o'clock, the guests and the servants who were there, they saw he had not come out, so they went and knocked, and there was no response. Then the door was locked. That's what they say, and it was locked, of course. But who locked it, we don't know. And then they made noise, and finally they brought a lock manufacturer in Bombay, and then he opened it. And before he could open the door and go inside, they said, no, you can't go. And the door was shut, and he was escorted out, this lock manufacturer, and down the a couple of flights of stairs, and then through the lift, out into the out of the building. And then they say they entered the room and saw him hanging, and they brought him down. Now there is something about heights there. There was a bed directly under the fan, and he's supposed to have hanged himself with a kurta, which is something novel. I've not heard of it. I can understand hanging yourself with a sari, but hanging yourself with a kurta is something is novel. But anyway, if he climbed on top of the bed and then try to put the noose and hang himself, there was no way he could hang, because he was taller than the gap between the bed and the fan. So that's first thing. Second thing is, when the police came, he was on the bed, and he was in a very twisted way. Some people say his leg was broken. God knows, there were marks on his neck, which is not possible due to hanging, and especially with a kurta. And doesn't matter. And he was taken to for the autopsy in the afternoon. Now, before that, the Bombay police announced that it was suicide. There's no suicide note, and yet they have announced it. The section 154 of the CRPC says that if any offense committed, suicide is an offense, by the way, is brought to the knowledge of the police, the Supreme Court in a number of judgments has said it is compulsory for the police to register an FIR and then start the investigation. But there was no FIR. Even today, there's no FIR from the point of view from the Bombay side. They're saying that they're continuing the investigation, but there's no FIR. Most extraordinary. And but they kept on saying it's suicide, it's suicide. Now, in the autopsy, we don't know what they did. There was an inordinate delay before they went for his viscera. And viscera in the stomach, or if there was any poison, would have by then got ejected. And therefore, everybody knows that if you get a body, then only you can say whether he was poisoned, whether he was killed, all that, only when you have the body. So they had the body, and then they sent the viscera, means parts of the body, to the laboratory and got him cremated the next day. So there's no body left after that. So when the AIMS team came, they didn't have the body. They didn't have viscera. They had a report on the viscera of Bombay. I mean Bombay police unit. So they looked at it, but they knew very well. The team knew very well that it was done after many hours. The body was lying there. There is a report that the conditions in which it was kept, there was no refrigeration, nothing, and the body was kept like just a corpse on the road. And then next day it got cremated. So the AIMS did not have access to the body to make an original search. So what did the AIMS director's statement, or the head of the department of forensic medicine, say? Well, according to Rajdeep Sardesai, who is now under investigation for the TRP fraud. And I didn't think that they would cheat like this, but then, they have been giving lectures to everybody in their magazine. Now they themselves are caught, and let's see how that goes. But I would say that the question will be, how do you know this is suicide? When you look at the autopsy report of the Cooper Hospital, what does it say? Death due to asphyxiation. That is, you're being strangled out of breath due to hanging. Now, how do they know it's due to hanging? Because asphyxiation can be done, you can strangle a person and then put a rope and hang him. So how can you say that this asphyxiation was due to hanging? And especially since you have not examined the question whether he was specifically, they have not examined the question whether he was strangled or not. As I say, the photographs show marks which could have been anything but strangling, or putting by something called a stun gun, STUN, which knocks you unconscious, and then you can do what you like with the body. Even though that time it's not dead, you can kill him, with no resistance. So I'm saying that the autopsy report of the Bombay Cooper Hospital itself only says asphyxiation is the cause of death, and they say due to hanging. That is a surmise. So I don't know what the All India Medical Institute did. Nobody has any idea of the report. So now there are many other mysteries. I don't want to go into all that. There is now many investigations going on. Remember, the Dawood gang, which is involved in Bollywood, they are highly professional killers. So there was a determination to kill him. Then they would have planned it all. And I would say the mere fact that the Bombay police, without registering an FIR and investigation, immediately said it is suicide. That is, they closed the finding in advance. Now they're investigating. But I don't know what they're investigating. So that's suspicious. Then what you did with this business of this door, why didn't the police, after they came, seal the building, which is a mandatory requirement? It has never been sealed. For Sunanda's case, for 3 years we kept it sealed. The hotel kept complaining, we are losing money on this, we are losing money on this. Nothing doing. It has to be kept sealed. So all these show that it was a premeditated determination to make it into a suicide. Now, some media channels said that the director, the head of the department of the forensic department, Sudhir Gupta, had talked to them and said this is suicide, and that the autopsy is perfect. We have no record of it, no video, no document, nothing. And it's all over the media. Vindicated, apologize, this, that. So I decided what I should do to get to the bottom of it is that I am fortunately just been made once again a member of the standing committee of Ministry of Health, under which the forensic department is, in which Dr. Sudhir Gupta is the head of the department. So we are in the standing committee. We call for depositions by the senior officials, and on Corona, we have been having for the last 6-7 months hearings, and the committee has now got another 1-year extension because they every year they ask us which committee you want to be in, and this time I said, well, we are in the middle of this COVID, so I'll continue. So now I told to the chairman, very fine person, Mr. Ram Gopal Yadav, When he first came, he's Mulayam Singh's, I think, cousin brother. And Mulayam Singh told him, isko dekh lo. So he joined. I had formed a group at that time, United Parliamentary Front of all independent and small parties together. As a Janata Party MP, and he joined that, and I promoted him to what I could do by giving him many chances, telling him how he should argue, so on. So he called me Guruji, and I sometimes get embarrassed because he touches my feet also. But he said, no, teachers have to be respected. And so when I suggested to him, it was supposed to be heard on the 9th, but Ramvilas Paswan died, so we had to adjourn the matter. But it was decided after the adjournment by the chairman that the letter I had written to him and what I said in that, why we should hold a committee hearing is and summon all the people concerned is because of these 5 points. And I'll just conclude with that in a minute. But he said, why not you first have a meeting with the Secretary of Health and then see how much you can get out. So then you can make a report, and on that basis we can summon witnesses and hear the matter. But the health secretary was very kind when I spoke to him, saying that the chairman has asked me, and chairman has independently informed him also. That's what the chairman told me. And so what he may do is ask the director of the medical board. Why I'm emphasizing this director of medical board is that in the past there have been cases where the forensic department gave a report which was not acceptable, and so then the Supreme Court asked the health ministry to ask the director of the medical board to re-examine the whole thing because it's there's no confidence in the report of the forensic department. So the same way, I think here also the director could be asked to re-evaluate the evidence and see whether a conclusion can be reached in view of the fact that you don't have the body, you don't have a proper examination and analysis of the viscera. So and then you didn't do it in appropriate time. You didn't even put in the report, the Cooper Hospital did not put the estimated time when the death took place. Now, that's crucial, you see. So he did not put. How do we know that all this business of orange juice and then shut his door, all this is true? Maybe he was killed the previous night, when he's supposed to have been partying. Maybe they fed him poison there or something. So therefore, to not give the time of estimated time of death based on rigor mortis that takes place, that was shocking. And so I have raised 5 questions, which I'll read out now. The first thing is whether the AIMS team did a post-mortem on the body of Sushant Singh Rajput. The reason I've asked this question, there was no body. So how can you do post-mortem? Okay. So therefore they had to, so I said, or they were only forming an opinion about the post-mortem report done already by the doctors of Cooper Hospital. So this has to be made public, that they did nothing, no examination, just looked at the papers and relied on what the material was supplied by the Cooper Hospital. That's like asking a crook, please tell us what the charge sheet should be. I mean, if they have done something wrong, the hospital, they are not going to admit to this investigation. Second question I asked is whether Dr. Sudhir Gupta was advised by higher authorities in the ministry to give media interviews. Even before the AIMS special team report had been submitted. No, it's an extraordinary thing. I mean, I have nothing. No, I have a very high opinion of Dr. Sudhir Gupta after the Sunanda case, and I defended him and ensured that he was not persecuted by the Congress government, which was on the last stages in 2014 after the death of Sunanda in mysterious circumstances on January 17th, 2014. So it's possible that somebody got to him from Dubai and frightened him. I don't know, because don't expect this kind of sloppy behavior from a man of the qualification. He was a gold medalist, and his past performance to have done this, and that too, he didn't hold a press conference. He called Rajdeep Sardesai, who was already committed on the other side, to say that we have concluded. He did not go, although he was the chairman of that special team. He did not go to Bombay. He did not go and look at it. Whatever material the team collected and gave, on that basis, he has made a remark. Then the third is whether the AMS team examined the evidence of destruction. There's been so much evidence of destruction. If you didn't seal the building, the apartment, then obviously destruction would have taken place. Who knows what was there? They say, oh, Sushant went to sleep alone. How do we know? Maybe in the cupboard somebody was hiding from the these crooks do these things. You can see any mystery movie, murder mystery movie, you'll find these things happen. So therefore, I would say whether the evidence of destruction, the hurried and truncated post-mortem done by Dr. Cooper Hospital, and the non-sealing of the scene of the crime by the Mumbai police, was this examined? No, obviously they have to answer that question. Fourth question was, overall, was there insufficient material from a forensic medical point of view for the AIMS team to take a definite opinion on the cause of death due to these above mentioned lacunae? There's so much lacunae. Time of death is not there. When the body was brought is not recorded. When the autopsy was done, not recorded. All this not there. And fifth, in view of the above, whether the Ministry of Health and Family Planning Welfare has considered whether this matter needs to be sent to the medical board of the ministry for a review of the special team's opinion. I've got a Supreme Court case to say this can be done. And so on Monday, that's tomorrow, I've already spoken to the Home Secretary, and I told him I'll get in touch with them on Monday. And then with that, of course, it'll be secret. I cannot make it public what he said to me and didn't say to me. And I'll go to the committee and give a report. And if the committee decides to have interrogation or invite examination of various people in a committee hearing, that we'll decide collectively after I've presented the report. I tell all the fans of Sushant, don't ever lose hope. This is something that we must do. We must keep on digging. Something will come out in that digging. This kind of commitment will never go waste. But there are also kinds of people say, how can the whole country be told that this is a suicide because an alleged interview of Dr. Sudhir Gupta to Rajdeep Sardesai, of which he has no tape, he has no of the conversation, leave alone video. He doesn't have the tape, there's no report, and there's no confirmation, nothing. So therefore, I would say that in these ordinary circumstances, it means there's a cover-up going on. And if there's a cover-up, it can be uncovered also. And there we are a democracy, we have enough instruments to bring all this out. And I'm sure that in the end, it will be found that Sushant Singh and that Disha, both of them were murdered. And it was done by the Dubai gang and the Three Musketeers gang. They have all decided that this guy was too dangerous to be let alone. and he would upset the whole system. But on his death basis, I think we can have a new cleaned up Bollywood, perhaps transferred out of Bombay and put in Vidarbha, which requires, we can do with more with an industry like Bollywood there. And so I think we have to clean up this country, and we cannot clean up when these gangsters have so well, positioned themselves in our power structure that even they can get the police to be complicit, and that therefore I urge all the young people who are listening to this, don't lose hope. You will hear all kinds of rumors, all kinds of projections, saying that Devendra Fadnis met Sanjay Raut, and therefore all deal has been made. So on. I mean, I think these people should themselves make movies, those who spread these kinds of wild rumors, because it's a fertile mind. So I say we will win in the end. It will be proved that it was murdered, and the guilty parties will be exposed, and the cleanup of Bollywood will take place.
डॉक्टर स्वामी, एक ऐसा मुद्दा, एक ऐसी घटना जिसके प्रति पिछले 4 महीनों से देश का एक बहुत बड़ा वर्ग आक्रोश से भरा हुआ है, आंदोलित है, उद्वेलित है, और बार बार नई नई किस्म की जो जानकारियां सामने आ रही हैं, बड़ा रहस्य का विषय है। सुशांत सिंह राजपूत की जब घटना हुई थी 14 जून को, तो लगा था कि सब कुछ खत्म हो जाएगा, लेकिन आपने सीबीआई की जांच का मुद्दा उठाया। लोगों ने कहा कि मुंबई पुलिस ठीक से जांच नहीं कर पा रही है या नहीं कर रही है, ऐसे आरोप भी उनके ऊपर लगे, और लगा कि सीबीआई अगर आएगा तो सब कुछ दूध का दूध और पानी का पानी साफ हो जाएगा। लेकिन सीबीआई ने भी अभी, जैसे पिछले अंक में हमने जब ये मामला उठाया था, आपने बताया था कि सीबीआई ने भी अभी तक कोई एफआईआर दाखिल नहीं की है इस मामले में, और जो गुपचुप बातें हो रही हैं, मीडिया के थ्रू बातें हो रही हैं। हालांकि पीटीआई ने एक रिलीज जरूर इस मुद्दे पर दी थी, फॉरेंसिक रिपोर्ट के बारे में, लेकिन किसी भी जिम्मेदार व्यक्ति का वक्तव्य अभी तक सामने नहीं आया है, और सिर्फ फुसफुसाहट जिसको कहते हैं, विस्पर्स, और उसके आधार पे पूरे देश में ये मामला चल रहा है, और सरकार भी सोई हुई है। सरकार की तरफ से कोई बयान नहीं होता, सरकार का कोई विभाग इसके ऊपर नहीं बोलता, और जिन लोगों को इससे कोई लाभ नहीं होने वाला, जिनको सिर्फ सच्चाई का उजागर करने में रुचि है, जैसे आप है, उन लोगों के ऊपर भी कभी कभी कोई मंतव्य उठा देता है कि उन्होंने ऐसा कहा, उन्होंने वैसा कहा। तो ये जो मेडिकल बोर्ड की बात आपने कही है रामगोपाल यादव जी की समिति के लिए, तो आपको लगता है कि अब मामला कुछ सुलझेगा यदि मेडिकल बोर्ड दोबारा जांच करता है? तो क्या आपको लगता है कि नया कोई घटनाएं या नया कोई जानकारी प्रकाश में आएगी, ताकि जो लोग आंदोलित हैं, तो बिहार में लोगों ने कहा कि हम वोट नहीं देंगे जब तक इसका मामला साफ नहीं होगा, जब तक सुशांत के साथ न्याय नहीं होगा, हम वोट देने नहीं जाएंगे। सिर्फ बिहार की बात नहीं है, पूरे भारत में युवा वर्ग जो है, जंतर मंतर पर प्रदर्शन हुए, मुंबई में प्रदर्शन हुए, और जगह प्रदर्शन हुए। तो अभी जो आशा आपने बढ़ाई है वो कितनी
पहले तो मैं कोई गारंटी किसी बात की नहीं दे सकता, क्योंकि मेरे अधीन, मेरे जिम्मेदारी में, मेरे दायित्व में कोई भी डिपार्टमेंट नहीं है। सीबीआई प्रधानमंत्री के नीचे है, एनफोर्समेंट डायरेक्टरेट फाइनेंस मिनिस्ट्री में, ये जो नारकोटिक्स ब्यूरो है वो होम मिनिस्ट्री के नीचे है। तो जिम्मेदारी तो जो जवाबदारी है, या जो यानी जो मापदंड कर सकते हैं, वो तो दूसरे लोग हैं, और वो तो कोई दिलचस्पी नहीं दिखा रहे। मैं इतना ही कर सकता हूं कि ऐसा हवा बना सकता हूं जिसमें मानी जाएगी। सीबीआई ने अभी तक रजिस्टर नहीं किया एफआईआर, वो आवश्यक नहीं है। क्यों आवश्यक नहीं है? क्योंकि पटना पुलिस ने एक एफआईआर रजिस्टर कराई, इसके कारण से नीतीश की सरकार ने इसमें हस्तक्षेप नहीं किया और पुलिस के पास कंप्लेंट आया और पुलिस ने वही किया जो सेक्शन 154 सीआरपीसी में लिखा है। कोई भी लाए उस पर जांच करने के पहले एफआईआर रजिस्टर करना होता है। कानून के विपरीत बॉम्बे पुलिस ने रजिस्टर नहीं किया है। अब उसको सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ट्रांसफर कर दिया है वो एफआईआर सीबीआई को। जब सीबीआई की आदेश हुआ सुप्रीम कोर्ट में तो उन्होंने ये एफआईआर भी ट्रांसफर कर दिया। तो इसीलिए और एफआईआर में कई चीजें जोड़ी भी जा सकती हैं। दूसरा ये है कि इसमें मोटिव तो कोई किसी की व्यक्तिगत द्वेष घृणा के कारण नहीं हुआ है। एक घबराहट हुई कि ये हमारे काबू के बाहर चले गया और चमक रहा है, रोज बोलने पड़ रहा है। एक वैकल्पिक, जैसे विश्वामित्र ने एक वैकल्पिक स्वर्ग पैदा की, वैसा ये कोई वैकल्पिक बॉलीवुड पैदा कर सकता है। इसको रोकना है, तो इसीलिए उन्होंने किया। ये पहले भी किया। एक जिया, एक लेडी एक्ट्रेस थी जिया और परवीन बाबी। अरे मैंने मेरे 14-15 लोगों का नाम दिया गया कि सबकी मर्डर हुई है और सबको ठंडा किया गया। आई मीन इसके किसी अपराधी को नहीं पकड़ा। तो मैं ये कहता हूँ कि मैं कोई आशा नहीं देने वाला हूँ निश्चित तौर पर। यह मैं कहता हूँ कि आज तक मैंने जो भी किया है, मैंने जब 2G में लगाया, क्या लोगों ने कहा क्या को तुम ये कर रहे हो, सबने बांट लिया पैसा, कोई कुछ होगा सुप्रीम कोर्ट में? मैंने कहा इतना तो मैं करने को कोशिश करूंगा कि लाइसेंस को कैंसिल कर दें। उसके बाद जो पकड़े जाएगा, कौन जेल जाएगा, ये सब चलेगी अपने प्रक्रिया, उसमें नहीं। बट मैं रहूंगा जब तक वहां नहीं कैंसिल होगा। तो आज मैं ये कहता हूं कि इस पर हम कोई ऐसी जो संभावना है उसको हम छोड़ेंगे नहीं। उस संभावना का उपयोग करके इसके साथ, सुशांत के साथ न्याय होनी चाहिए। क्यों? सुशांत साधारण व्यक्ति नहीं था, वो ज्ञानी था, वो पढ़ा लिखा था, वो रिसर्च कर सकता था। वो सब छोड़कर मैं सिनेमा में आए और सिनेमा में चमके और उसके बाद उसकी हत्या की गई। तो इसलिए हमारी जिम्मेदारी बनती है कि ऐसा कभी नहीं आगे होना चाहिए। और जो हुआ है उसके लिए, उसकी आत्मा को शांति करने के लिए जिन्होंने किया है ये सबसे नीच काम, उसको सजा मिलनी चाहिए। उसके लिए हम प्रयास करते रहेंगे। मैंने LTT में भी इसी प्रकार से जोर लगाया। राजीव गांधी की हत्या किसी ने कहा सरदारों ने किया, उसने किया, इसने किया, दुनिया भर की थियोरीज सबने लगाई। आखिर में इसने LTT किया और आखिर में वही हुआ। और फिर सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जजमेंट दिया है कि ये लोग 4 लोग जो हैं इनको मृत्यु दंड देना चाहिए। खेद की बात है कि सोनिया गांधी ने पता नहीं किस कारण से, कौन सा रहस्य है जो हमें पता नहीं है, उन्होंने चिट्ठी लिख दी राष्ट्रपति को कि इनको मृत्यु दंड नहीं देना चाहिए, इनको आजीवन कारावास की दंड देनी चाहिए। और आखिर में वही हुआ। तो मैं ये कहता हूँ कि हम तो लोगों को विश्वास देते हैं कि भाई नया भारत बनानी है तो कोई ऊपर से देगा, ऐसा मत समझो। धीरे धीरे हमारी सिस्टम खराब हुई है। पैसे के कारण ब्लैक मनी आवश्यक हो गई चुनाव के लिए, और उसके लिए पहले से इकट्ठा करके रखना है। हमारे घर में नहीं रख सकते हैं, तकिया के नीचे या बिस्तर के नीचे नहीं रख सकते, बैंक में रखें तो पकड़े जाएंगे। तो स्विट्जरलैंड बैंक में लगा दो, कोई विदेशी बैंक में लगा दो। आजकल तो सब मकाऊ जा रहे हैं, चाइना में। तो ऐसे करने के लिए इसको हवाला एजेंट की आवश्यकता है। हवाला लोग जो हैं वो हैं दुबई में जो भी हवाला एजेंट्स हैं सबका कंट्रोल दाऊद के हाथ में है। और इसीलिए उनके जरिए आप विदेशों में अपनी बैंक अकाउंट के पैसा जमा करोगे तो दाऊद को, तो दाऊद माने दाऊद की जो सारी टीम है उनको पता ही है कि कौन है जिसकी जो राजनीति में है, जो बड़ा बाबू है, उसकी विदेश में अकाउंट कौन से कहाँ जमा किया, उसका नंबर क्या है, उसका पासवर्ड क्या है, सब उनको पता है। तो आज तो दुबई के हवाला एजेंट से लोग डरते हैं, और हवाले एजेंट्स जो हैं दुबई में सब ISI और पाकिस्तान के नियंत्रण में। तो क्योंकि दाऊद खुद पाकिस्तान के बिना जिंदा नहीं रह सकता, वो कराची में उसका एक निवास स्थान है। तो इतनी बड़ी जाल जाते बढ़ते बढ़ते जा रही है कि आज हमें इस भारत को मुक्त करना है, भारत माता की सारे अंग को यानी स्वस्थ रखना है। तो हम लोगों को संकल्प लेना चाहिए। कोई भी कुछ कहें, परंतु इसके लिए हम आखिर तक लड़ते रहेंगे, 20 साल लग जाए। जैसे अमेरिका में एल कपोन को 32 साल के बाद 32 मर्डर के लिए बदला लिया, परंतु वो दूसरे रास्ते से उनको इनकम टैक्स में बंद कर दिया, जीवन भर वहीं जेल में मरे। अब मृत्यु दंड देना है, इनकम टैक्स से देना है, इन्फोर्समेंट डायरेक्टरेट से देना है, NCP यानी ड्रग माफिया के कारण देना है, कहीं ना कहीं रास्ता निकलेगी। और जब तक खोज नहीं करोगे रास्ता निकलेगी नहीं, कोई आपको ऊपर से देने वाला नहीं है। और इसीलिए मैं कहता हूँ, और ये सारे आजकल फेक IDs और झूठे प्रचार, पैसे में कोई भी कुछ ट्वीट करने के लिए तैयार है, उससे दुखी नहीं होना चाहिए। आपके चमड़ा जो है मोटा होना चाहिए, जैसे भैंस का होता है। तो ये आलोचना से इधर उधर हिलना नहीं चाहिए। ये झूठे प्रचार कभी टिकता नहीं है, आखिर में चली जाती है। तो जब आप उसको सीरियसली लोगे तभी वो कुछ उसका कुछ वो बन सकता है। तो मैं यही कहूँगा कि सब लोगों को, और जरूर आप मैं विद्यार्थियों को कहता हूँ, नौजवानों को, युवा युवतियों को कहता हूँ, तुम्हारे हाथ में तो बहुत बड़ा एक ताकत है अभी, वो है बिहार इलेक्शंस का। आगे भी इलेक्शंस आएंगे, यूपी का आएगा, बंगाल का आएगा। तो आप जैसे जयप्रकाश नारायण ने लोगों को समझाया, ये वोट जो है ये एटम बम है, ये राजनीतिक एटम बम है, इसका उपयोग करिए। पहले से कह दीजिए कि हम जाएंगे, हम जाकर वोट डालेंगे, हम किसी को नहीं देंगे, तो हम नन ऑफ द अबव, नोटा में करेंगे, ये इसमें कहना चाहिए। और क्योंकि सारे जो राजनीतिक हैं, जो मंत्रियां हैं, सबका ये सीधा जिम्मेदारी है कि जो वो CBI को नहीं बता सकते, प्रधानमंत्री CBI को नहीं बता सकते ऐसा ढूंढ के ऐसा करो। वो सिर्फ कहेंगे दिखाओ तुमने क्या, किस तरीके से ये तर्क पहुंचे, उसके लिए दस्तावेज दिखाओ। ये तो प्रधानमंत्री के दफ्तर में किया जा सकता है, उसी प्रकार से फाइनेंस मिनिस्ट्री में किया जा सकता है, होम मिनिस्ट्री में किया जा सकता है। तो इसीलिए हमारे जो एक एकता बनाकर डट के रहना, यही है इसका समाधान। मैं कर दूंगा, ये मैं करूंगा, यदि मैं तो करूंगा ही, मैं तो लगे रहूंगा, परंतु आखिर में कहीं ना कहीं सही होना चाहिए। मैं भी 2G में वो जो दो जजेस थे, सिंघवी और गंगुली, नहीं होते तो ये नहीं होता। तो जजेस में भी तरह तरह के लोग होते हैं, ये लोग बस, और उसमें कांग्रेस पावर में थी, और उन्होंने अटॉर्नी जनरल ये वो सारे बड़े वकीलों को मेरे खिलाफ खड़ा कर दिया, मैं अकेला एक तरफ वो बाद में प्रशांत भूषण आए थे, बट हम तो शुरू से लगे हुए थे इसमें। तो इसीलिए मैं कहता हूं कि ये परिस्थितियां बनती है, जैसे कृष्ण भगवान ने गीता में कहा कि जब तुम प्रयास करोगे, परिणाम मैं देख लूंगा। तुम परिणाम के लिए लड़ोगे, कुछ नहीं मिलने वाला है, और दुखी होगे, और कभी बहुत आनंद होकर आसमान चढ़े जाओ, कभी दुखी होकर जमीन के नीचे चलो। इसीलिए भगवान कृष्ण ने कहा सुख दुखे समय कृत्वा लाभा लाभो जय जयो, यानी वो उनका कहना है कि ये जो एक्सट्रीम्स हैं इससे बच के रहो, तभी आप सुखी हो सकते हैं। जो भी परिणाम होगी मैं तय करूंगा। तुम्हारी अधिकार सिर्फ प्रयास करने का है। जो कर्म आप करते हो उसकी फल आएगी, और वो मैं तय करूंगा कब देना है, किस रूप में देना। तो इसीलिए आपको निष्ठा है तो डटे रहिए, मैं तो डटे रहूंगा। आप आए ना आए, आप गाली दें ना दें, मैं तो डटे रहने वाला हूँ।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर स्वामी। आपने सुशांत सिंह राजपूत की जो हत्या है, कथित हत्या है, इस विषय के बहाने आपने गीता का एक तरह से ज्ञान दोबारा हमारे युवकों को दिया, हमारे दर्शकों को दिया। 3 बातें जो आपने कही कि पहली बात तो हमें संघर्ष से मुंह नहीं मोड़ना चाहिए। संघर्ष सच्चाई की जो हम तह में जाना चाहते हैं, हमें लगे रहना चाहिए, चाहे परिणाम विपरीत क्यों नहीं आए। कभी न कभी रोशनी में, अंधेरे में एक रोशनी की किरण जरूर आएगी और सच्चाई सामने आएगी। दूसरी बात कि ये जो घटना है, सरकार की विभाग के जो अंदर है, हस्तक्षेप में है। भले ही सरकार कुछ न करे, लेकिन जो लोग निस्वार्थ भाव से कर रहे हैं, जैसे आप हैं और अन्य लोग हैं, वो इसमें करते रहें, कुछ ना कुछ जरूर इसमें निकलेगा और सच्चाई कभी छुप नहीं सकती। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपको हमारे दर्शकों के लिए एक पूरी घटना पर प्रकाश डालने का और इस बात के लिए विस्तार पूर्वक जानकारी देने का।
Dr. Swamy, we are getting a lot of feedback from our viewers online in our feedback columns that people really want you to keep up this fight for Sushant Singh, justice for Sushant Singh. And it's not only people who are watching this program live, but the amount of social media activists who are not political. Some are women, some are professionals, some are students, some are youth. They all are totally stand with you on this justice. They are very unhappy with some of the politicians, some of these professional media people, and they want you to continue this fight. As you say, and our colleagues have been saying, they have a lot of vested interest who spread a lot of rumors or mislead people and try to create confusion. But the solid masses are, because I can see from the feedback which we are getting on this issue, that people want us to, especially you, to continue this struggle. And just as when Arvind was saying about Andhera and all that, I still recall Andhera mein ek prakash, jai prakash, jai prakash. This was during the emergency. Nobody knew. You always told us that, when the emergency will end, people used to ask you during the emergency.
Yes,
She will continue for another 25 years. Her son will continue for another 25 years. Then the dog Tommy will continue. All these jokes around.
Right.
Basic. You have never thought about position, power, and all that. You found an issue, and you have been fighting for the issue. Whether whoever takes the benefit, we know that even in 2G, you fought, prepared the ground, and some other people may have today taken advantage of it. But I like to say, on behalf of the viewers and the social media response, that people want you to continue this struggle, especially in the Sushant Singh Rajput case and various other cases which you take up. I'm just giving this as a observation and comment on this occasion. Thank you.
Well, I can say one thing, that you have chosen Kailash behind me. With Mahadev, with blessings, anything can be achieved in this world.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dhanyavad. Arvind?
Okay. I think he is muted.
Arvind, your mic is muted.
एक ज्ञान गंगा और वर्ड्स ऑफ विजडम का, एक ज्ञान का एक सागर की तरह आपने आज जानकारी दी है हमारे दर्शकों को, दोनों विषयों पे, चाहे वो अमेरिका का राष्ट्रपति का चुनाव हो या सुशांत सिंह राजपूत का हो, जैसा कि जगदीश ने भी बताया, और आपने जो प्रारंभ में कहा कि हमें संघर्ष के पथ से मुंह नहीं मोड़ना चाहिए। ये हमारे युवकों के लिए एक बहुत बड़ा संदेश है आज के इस अंक का। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद इस विषय पे। और लोकनायक जयप्रकाश नारायण और नानाजी देशमुख को श्रद्धांजलि देते हुए हम अपने दर्शकों को बता दें कि ज्ञान गंगा वर्ड्स ऑफ विजडम के साथ साथ जो प्रति रविवार को आता है, हमारा एक कार्यक्रम शनिवार को भी है, 2 हफ्ते से चल रहा है, वो न्याय का ज्ञान गंगा है। सो हम अगली बार जब डॉक्टर स्वामी से मिलेंगे, That will be Saturday. Next Saturday, there will be talking about the legal issues and the issues for the benefit of the common man. And Sunday again, we'll come up with a new topic with Dr. Subramanian Swamy. With thanking my co-host, Mr. Jagdish Shetty, Mr. Ramesh Swamy, and the technical team headed by Ashish Shetty, Tejas, Gadgi Rakesh, Swaminathan, and Ishwar Iyer, and Vishal Mehta. We will meeting again next Saturday and then followed by Sunday. Thank you very much. Namaskar. Jai Hind.